Howdy, folks. This is your Uncle Gratu Orloff coming to you on episode 599 of the Gratu Orloff Show, motherfucker. It's Gratu Orloff. It's September 21st, I believe, a Wednesday. We're almost ready for our big 600th birthday celebration. We'll have a big party, big musical shindig coming up here probably later this afternoon. And then make sure you tune in late this evening around 7 o'clock p.m. for those of you that stay up that late for the fantastic Four Color Fossils live program. Live. There'll be about 42 comic book authorities, experts that will be expounding on the history of comic books tonight at 7 o'clock p.m. Central. Have you gotten your Frankenstein Hulk yet at the Dollar General? I was showing this last episode. He's like a Stretch Armstrong kind of guy. I never owned a Stretch Armstrong. I had a deprived childhood, ladies and gentlemen. But anyway, I'll put this, probably made out of horrible toxic chemicals. Yeah. Here I found this button. I used to wear this to high school. Back when buttons were really hip. How about that? Well, let's look at some Eerie Publications, ladies and gentlemen. Everybody's talking about them lately. The late 60s, early to mid 70s phenomenon of a company that was unbelievably outlaw. Basically, you had EC Comics in the early 50s, very imitated. Lots of companies putting out horror and crime books, trying to imitate EC, trying to put in more gore, if possible, than EC had. But the main thing is EC wasn't just all gore. EC had great writing. And they always had these twist endings, these O. Henry Twilight Zone endings. Of course, they were before Twilight Zone. Anyway, so EC was often imitated, but they were unparalleled. And so there were tons of these comics in the early 50s. And then the Comics Code came along, kind of wiped out horror comics. In the mid-1960s, James Warren had had success with Famous Monsters of Filmland magazine. He thought, I'm going to try to bring back those EC comics, but as black and white magazines where the Comics Code won't be in effect. And he got a lot of the great artists that were still around. It was only about 10 years after EC folded. Those guys were still around, still relatively young. So he brought in Frank Frazetta and Al Williamson and Wally Wood and tons of artists. And Creepy and Eerie were great. The thing about it is the writing was good, but it was never on par with EC. When you read Warren horror stories in the magazines, it just didn't blow. It blew your mind, but it didn't explode your mind like the EC comics would have to kids then, and even to me. I wasn't around in the, EC folded about 10 years before I was born. But I read EC reprints, and I knew the way the stories were structured and how great they were. And then these Warren stories didn't quite grab you, as beautiful as the art was, like the EC had. Meanwhile, so he started to have a lot of success with these horror comics, because all real Americans love monsters. All true Americans love the smell of a monster magazine. I pity the person the scumbag that doesn't like monsters. Well, anyway, it was a big fad in the 60s. But kids have always liked monsters. But then in the late 50s, 60s, 70s, kids really liked monsters. So other companies started imitating. Like people imitated EC in the early 50s, people started imitating James Warren. James Warren had Creepy out. Myron Foss was going to put out a comic called Eerie, but James Warren beat him to it and got it quickly rushed out a little ash can. I think he printed 200 copies and got the name Eerie out first. So he wasn't able to use that, but he called his company Eerie Publications. But it has nothing to do with the Eerie magazine that was put out by James Warren. Anyway, the thing about these Eerie Publications magazines is the covers were insanely over the top with gore. And most stores did not carry these magazines. You could not. I did not see them on army bases because my dad would take me to the post, to PX, to Shaw, and I'd look at the comic books and magazines. They had the Warren magazines there for the GIs, whatever, officers, whoever shopped there, but they did not have these. Oh, and they also had the Horror Mood publications from Skywald. That was another imitation in the 70s of Warren. But I think I was telling you last episode, some kid found one of these magazines, brought it to school, and said, "Look what I've got." And we were like oohing and ahhing. We couldn't believe. I think he was the same kid that discovered they'd got some James Chick tracks at the Chick tracks, the little booklets like "This Was Your Life" that are designed to convert you to Christianity, but the art was very underground looking, and they were really scary, but the art was really cool, but they were also very lurid and bloody, some of the, believe it or not, even they were trying to really scare you into, which I don't know if that's the best way to convert people to Christianity is through fear, but they were scary, and so this kid, look at this magazine I found. But he also, it may have been a different kid. I don't know. Either the same kid or another kid brought these Jack Chick tracks to school. I'm getting going crazy like Joe Biden, man. But he brought a Jack Chick and he would sell them to us. Here, you pay me $25, I'll give you this Jack, because his church gave them out free. But there was one about an exorcism. He says, "I'm not going to sell this to you guys. This one's too scary." Anyway, so I don't know where he found this magazine. I'm thinking it might have been at Lone Star Drive-In, which was a convenience store. Stores that carry these were not the typical stores. They were more, I don't know. But anyway, they have all these wholesome advertisements for you to I always wanted a Luger. I had a Luger squirt gun, a red Luger squirt gun when I was a kid, but I'd like a real Luger. I just think the design of the gun looks cool. The Germans were horrible. The Nazis were horrible in World War II, but their equipment, their tanks, their guns, they had cool technology. They were just bad people. I mean, their ideology was bad, but they looked cool. Their uniforms and their weapons look cool. Here's a 7-foot monster poster you could get. And you could always get the x-ray specs to look through the girl next to you in homeroom classes, look through her dress, But this is what you had in these Eerie Publications. What the deal was is they were done on the cheap. Even though they hired world-class artists to paint these covers, and I'm not even, you think I'm being sarcastic, I think this is brilliant, because for what it's designed to do, how could anyone leave this behind on a newsstand and not purchase this? It was 60 cents, that was kind of expensive. This must be later on. Shit, it was September 1973, 60 cents was pretty expensive. But anyway, this is Tales from the Tomb. It's volume 5, number 5. And I used to, very rarely I would find these at at a, like what do you call it, flea market. You know, I'd find some of these, but over the years, now there are tons of people that are into these, I guess, and people have put out these books. There's been at least 3, 4 like hardcover books put out about these. I was looking. There was a book that came out about 12 years ago about Eerie Publications, and I got from the guy that was putting it out. I pre-ordered a shirt of Eerie Publications. It was really, and I was trying to find that shirt to put on to show you these magazines, which I'm organizing. So that's, I think I've shown them to you before on a live stream, but now I'm trying to alphabetize them. So that's Tales from the Tomb. This is Horror Tales. This is this would go earlier in the alphabet. And there's no ads on the back. The art extends right to the back cover. And they're still selling all the weapons. But what they would do is they would take art that I guess they thought was free from copyright because it was from the 50s, or they would trace art, or it was basically they would take pre-code horror comics from the early 50s, and they would, with a little bit of liquid paper and a little bit of ink, they would alter them a little bit, like maybe they'd put longer sideburns on the guy to make it look more contemporary, like 1970, in this case June of 1973. And then they would draw in tons of blood. See here, look at that. This mummy has cut off a guy's hand, and here he's cleaved right through the son of a bitch's head. And this is pretty cool, you have to admit. And you know, then you got like eyeballs falling out of skulls. This is yeah, the story is called The Mummy. So this is what you get now. There are people that have. So they were taking stuff that I think they thought was public domain, or maybe they own the original artwork. I don't know, but they were basically taking 50s art and updating it, making it gorier and somewhat more contemporary. But so. Horror Tales, Tales from the Tomb. Here's Terror Tales. I'm listening to InfoWars here. This is what's his face that comes out? Owen Schroyer, isn't it? That comes on after Alex Jones's show. He kind of has a beard like Abraham Lincoln. He's a younger guy that's being groomed to follow up in Alex Jones's shoes. And yeah, look at this art. Yesterday, Alex Jones couldn't be there because he's off at one of these trials where they're trying to get him. But he had Alex Stein as his guest host, and Alex Stein is hilarious. I don't know if you know about him. But anyway, enough of politics. Look at this guillotine. Yeah, you got a guillotine and an atomic bomb. Putin's saying he's very serious that he might nuke us. So, I don't know, we didn't do anything to him. All we sent is like $80 billion over to Ukraine to buy weapons to kill Russians. I don't know why he's mad at us. But he's an evil guy, and he's made our gas prices go up, and now he's threatening to nuke us. So. They say this weekend's supposed to be biblical. There's supposed to be something happen the 24th, 25th. All the conspiracy people on YouTube, well, they're not on YouTube anymore, on Rumble, are all saying something's going to happen this weekend. So if something happens this weekend, you can say you heard it here first, man. Yeah, you can kind of tell that this is dated November 1969, but that's definitely an early 50s TV there. Speaking of, I need to move a 1953 or 52 television down from the attic to the third floor. Luckily, we have an elevator at maybe some, I don't know if I'll do that live on a TV show, because you might hear too much cursing, man. And that would not be good. So now I've got 3 organized. 3 in alphabetical order. Oh, this is too wide to fit in a comic book box. This is not old. This is recent. This is from 1993, which to me is recent. It reprints old pre-code horror stuff. The Thing, this particular pre-code horror comic is notorious for being like the most outrageous and bloody of the early horror comics, motherfuckers. So this reprints old, horror comics, but it doesn't alter them like the Eerie Publications did. Look at the acid turning it kind of brownish. I guess 1993 was a while ago, now that I think about it. I guess. I don't know. Only yesterday, when I was buying Tales Too Terrible to Tell Terrorology, who knew that time would pass? Where's my fucking money? It's unbelievable how time passes, ladies and gentlemen. You know, good times begin with Dr. Pepper. Light and lively taste, man. It's not a cola or a root beer. It's the light and lively taste that you'll cheer. It's the quicker pepper-upper. Donna Lauren and Dick Clark agree. It's the drink of the Gratu Orloff show. Okay, here's Tales of Voodoo. These are some of the new people that were just appointed into Joe Biden's cabinet. This one is from September of 1970. So you have Horror Tales, Tales from the Tomb, Tales of Voodoo. Okay, it goes there. So far, 4 different titles. Oh, here's another copy of Horror Tales. Now, this one was June of 73. This one's a few months earlier. This is April of 73. April of 73. So I was still living in Hampton, Virginia. I was, April of 73, I turned 8 years old. Now, these monsters seem to not like each other too much. This Wolfman is tearing off a vampire's head, and there's a Jill Biden-looking woman here. This blonde is tied up. I guess they're fighting over who's going to eat the woman. That is my... if you ever look at these covers and really try to interpret what's happening, it says the pulsating terror of the bloody Wolfman plus Ghoul's Mansion. Okay, so that goes before... April comes before June. I learned that in school. Or perhaps through independent study, I don't remember. Let's see, Horror Tales. Here's December of 73. Now, at that point, I was living in San Antonio, going to Regency Place Elementary. Perhaps this is the copy that that kid brought to school. I don't know. It would have been around this time period. Now, this is a hairdresser. He's working on her hair. This woman's been in the sun too long. She's all red. So, yes, ladies and gentlemen. I can't get enough of these, man. December 1973. Horror Tales. Well, you never can get enough. I wish that I had a complete set. Maybe. I've got a lot of them because I bought them before. I was buying these in late, you know. I would have bought them when they came out, but I didn't have access to them. And, whenever I've seen these, I bought them. Now I need to get on trying to get all of them. Here's Terror Tales from November 1970. Yeah, I showed these before, but it was on a, what do you call that duck thing, StreamYard. They look better when they're on a regular, when I record them with my iPhone. And so there's that wonderful ad, the giant life-size moon monster. Now, here we have a liberal-looking woman, someone that looks like they would actually vote for Joe Biden, stabbing this ultra MAGA guy, and he's pulled the head off of a vampire. These vampires are always getting their heads torn off by these ghouls or wolfmen. Why are people so racist against vampires? Vampires, monsters, ghouls are no match for the man with the bloody axe. From beyond the grave came the shrunken glass corpse. It's like William Shakespeare wrote the text. It really is very poetic, and plus other fantastic weird tales. Now, weird tales, that expression goes back to the ancient pulp days of the 20s and 30s. Yeah, this is very obviously 1950s art, and to a kid in November 1970, you would have been able to tell then that this was not contemporary art. It's pretty obvious. The glass corpse. Yeah, they put a lot of they altered the art quite a bit from the originals. I think people have in those big textbooks that you can get about this company, they'll tell you what original comic the art was stolen from to alter it for these magazines. I'm pretty sure all of that. I've got some of those books, I think, back in the library. Maybe I'll go over there and try to pull a few off. Terror Tales. This is November 69, November 1970. Just think, November. You'd buy one of these magazines and have a nice Thanksgiving dinner, and then you would, instead of watching football after the Thanksgiving dinner, you'd relax with a copy of Terror Tales. I hear the border is very secure. I'm glad to hear that. Biden's doing a great job. A horror classic. Okay, this is a more recent one from April of 1976. This one has celebrity guest appearances. And a lot of these paintings were cut and pasted, and then they would be put together collage-like. I mean, it's 1976. There's Barnabas Collins still making an appearance, even though Dark Shadows was canceled in 72. That's obviously based on Jack Palance, who played Dracula in the TV movie in the early 70s. This same witch has been on the cover of quite a few covers, and these heads in the jars are from a late 60s, I think, Eerie publication, but they've been cut and pasted in there. I mean, you can kind of tell this girl's flip hairdo, the Marlo Thomas, that girl style hair, that this is an earlier illustration. Beyond the grave. Corpses return to murder. The flesh eaters, they craved human flesh. A tomb of horror to open it was to die. Vampires' plague, blood was their only cure. A horror classic. It's like reading Classics Illustrated, ladies and gentlemen. On the back, freaks. You won't believe your eyes. For $3.95, the largest collection of freak photographs ever published. Hundreds of rare photos that have been hidden away and never been seen before. Every type of human oddity imaginable, some you'd never imagined, is pictured in this large 8x10 fascinating volume. You got two-headed people, human trunks, Siamese twins, giants, dwarves, and many more. Will be published at $6.95. Our special early bird sale, only $3.95. For $3.95, ladies and gentlemen, you can stare at freaks all day long, or you can just go to Walmart. But in April '76, Walmart didn't exist yet. You could have gone to, I don't think, yes, it did actually. but not where I lived. I would have had to go to Kmart to stare at human freaks. Terror Tales. All right. It feels good to get these all in chronological order, in alphabetical order. December of what the fuck? Is that 73? They got the year against the tree trunk. It's hard to read. I think that's 73. Let me see here. 73, ladies and gentlemen. The Hungry Corpse Makers left fleshless skeletons in their wake. That would be a great band name. And imagine just that same font. Just put that on a drum kit. Hey, ladies and gentlemen, we're the Hungry Corpse Makers. As you play at Ramada Inn. Weird, frightening, fantastic. The horror bugs. The curious hex plagues the madman's knife. Yes. And when Jason Willis made his great animated version, you can see on YouTube, look up Jason Willis. He made an animated cartoon out of these covers. He used this cover, I remember. Terror Tales, December of 73. There's November 70. I wonder how many times this came out a year. Wish they still made these. Wouldn't that be great? Okay, here, this cover is a classic. Terror Tales from May 1969. Featuring Meet Me in the Tomb, the Shelf of Skulls, Death Claws, plus other suspense-packed stories that shock. He's chowing down. Now, that's not a regular woman. That's a vampire woman. And her arm has already been eaten off. And this, if you really look, it looks like kind of like Lily Munster. He's chowing down on, so he's apparently this giant that eats vampire women. You know, this is never a story that's actually in the comic, but you know, some enterprising person ought to try to make stories, comic stories today out of these covers. You know, that's what Warren would do. They would get, Frank Rosetta would do a cool painting, or they'd buy a painting from someone. Like they'd buy a painting of these gorillas with spears on the cover, you know, and they've got helmets. It's like, okay, we've got this cover, but we don't have a story to go with it. So they'd commission like 5 or 6 different people, look at this cover, look at this painting, make a story out of it. So they'd write a story, just as long as what you see on the cover is one of the panels in the story. And then they'd publish an issue of Creepy, and there'd be 6 different stories completely unrelated, but except the different person's ideas of what the story would be, that they would do it backwards, in other words. I hear that there were low-budget studios, maybe like Roger Corman's studio, that would make a poster first, and then they'd make the movie based on that poster, because they got a poster that would sell, you know. Anyway, it was backwards, but they didn't even do that. These are not, these covers are simply there to attract your attention, and they, November 69, May of 1969. Just think, this was probably on the newsstand right before Woodstock, you know. I wonder what a nice, peaceful hippie would think of this cover looking at them. Oh my gosh. That's not cool, man. The great thing about these is I just can't picture hippies reading them, and that's why I love them. Here's, shit. Some fucking scumbag. I'm sorry, I will call them that. October 1978. Someone has scribbled on here. I had to look at it really closely because I thought maybe that's printed on there. Maybe the original artist was scribbling like a caveman. But no, I think some kid did that. This one has a little bit of moisture damage too. Anyway, look at this. How about that? But it's in the 70s when when this is the enemy. I hate this, man. Uh, Once those things got on comics, the comics just weren't as cool anymore. The mark of the beast, ladies and gentlemen. Look at this, man. Well, ladies and gentlemen, what are you going to be doing when the world ends this weekend? Oh, look at this. It's now here we have, what do we have going on here? A werewolf. Oh, the werewolves are always trying to kill the vampires, and it looks like this werewolf is trying to put a stake into the heart of this lovely vampire woman. Or is she a regular woman? She may just be a... Nah, well, she looks like she might just be a regular woman. I don't see... Well, there's a little bit of blood coming out of her mouth. I don't see the fangs, but it's also a snake with a human head coming after her. But it looks like this Dracula-looking guy is trying to block with his arm the stake from going down into... maybe it's his girlfriend. I don't know. The headless one, ladies and gentlemen. All right, Terror Tales from October of 78. So far, that's the most recent one we've seen this morning, this afternoon, this evening. October of 78. Yeah, see, April of 76, they don't have the hateful UPC code on there yet. Oh, okay. They have also have Weird, and that Weird logo is stolen directly from an older... from an old book from the 50s. I forget which one. Told in new chilling pictofiction. That's stolen directly from EC when EC was desperately trying to survive the comics code. They put out these magazines. They call it chilling pictofiction, where it was more text with lurid illustrations, and those didn't work. But Mad being turned from a comic book into a magazine was enough of a hit that alone kept EC Publications going, and it's sort of still going on life support. Warner, who the fuck owns Warner? Whoever the hell owns that company. Mad is still exists as like a reprint magazine. It's basically just quirks on life support, but occasionally you'll see I'm Mad on the newsstand, and it'll just be a sad reminder of how wonderful the world used to be when a new issue of Mad would really be on the newsstand, made by all the original guys that were still around in the 70s. Okay, this is April 68, so this is kind of early. Alright, so this is a classic cover. I'm seeing a video being posted. The real reason Biden's approval rating is low, says Liz Wheeler. See, whenever I'm recording on my phone, I get these notifications of things that are popping up on YouTube on the top of my phone. Okay, so shock, terror, suspense from the world beyond. So you got this creature, almost looks like some kind of sea creature. If you look at his ear, I don't know what kind of ghoul he is. But he's tearing the clothes off of this woman. And here's a Dracula kind of guy. In this issue, Careless Corpse, Death's Shoes, Hands of Terror, plus other shockers. April 68. Okay, so before Terror was the Terror Tales was okay. Weird will now be the last book in the alphabet. Here we have. This is the earliest one we've seen so far. This is from October of 1966. Just think, Batman had been on television about 9 months. It was October of '66, the Batman movie had just come out the summer before, so now you've gone back to school after seeing the Batman movie in the theaters. So this is, I guess, is their version of the Bride of Frankenstein. Of course, all the women in these, it seems like all the women the are always vampires on the cover with fangs. And it looks like she's the Bride of Frankenstein, and Frankenstein's monster is strangling the doctor. He's very much a Universal style Frankenstein. Lovely cover. I mean, this really is great. Terror, shock, suspense. 35 cents. Yeah, this was lurid stuff. He says it's really sad, the state of our country. Yeah, because these magazines don't exist anymore. That's one of the reasons why the state of... Yeah, see, you look at this art, and you can tell this is not 1966 art. You're dealing with early 50s art, which is wonderful. This art doesn't look too heavily altered. They've shrunken these people's heads. Oh my goodness, it's terrible. Heads of horror. Yes, indeed. October 1966. They're talking about human cyborgs, ladies and gentlemen. October 66. Weird. October 66. So it's Wednesday. There's only 48 hours until the Trump rally, man. Where is he going to be this month? I mean, this week. And he's going to do, he's going to have a rally on Friday night. And then a week after, I think October 1st, he'll be, he's doing another rally. And I think that's a Saturday. Okay, that's weird, April 68. This is weird, October 66. All right. Here's a beat-up copy of Weird from June of 1977. Yeah, these wolfmen do not like the vampire chicks. They're always... Oh, look how she's biting into his fingers. What is it? Wolfmen and vampires don't get along too well. But you know, Lily Munster's brother was a werewolf. And Lily Munster had a baby with a Frankenstein monster, and it was a werewolf. So, in the world of the monsters, all these monsters get along very well. But, oh man, that fucking Rob Zombie Monsters movie, I wonder how terrible that'll be. That's coming out in just a few short days. Oh man, people need to leave well enough alone. Leave the wonders of the past alone. But, yeah. June of 77. Okay, so it's hard to believe. Star Wars was in the theater when this one came out. This just looks so retro because oh well, yeah, weird, dude. Listening to, where was it? Oh, my wife was watching some lady. She watches these makeup channels on YouTube where they talk about cool cosmetics, and this lady kept talking about how weird she was. When people tell you repeatedly, I'm really weird, that means that they're really boring people, just to let you know. You're never going to hear me saying, gosh, I'm weird, I'm a weirdo, but I probably am a weirdo to the average person, the average asshole out there would not consider me to be... They would say I'm a weirdo with all the stuff that I collect and love. But people that talk all the time about how weird they are, they're... And if people are always saying another thing, if people say, I'm going to be honest with you, or, you know, if they're always saying truthfully, if they're always making a point, I'm serious. This is not a joke. This is not hyperbole. That means they're lying to you. These are all things Joe Biden says constantly, by the way. Now, does that look familiar? This is how they recycle the covers. Now, this one's a more close-up version of that painting we saw before. This is June of 1970. And let's look at the cover we just looked at. When was that? Where was that? Oh, here we go. It's the same magazine. October 66. In June of 1970. Yeah, so if you're collecting these magazines, you might be flipping through these at a flea market, and you're not really going to be quite sure, do I have that one or not? It looks so familiar, and that's why. So, June of 70. I mean, that's only 4 years apart. So they're figuring that people aren't going to keep reading this magazine 4 or 5 years. It's not like a magazine people keep reading 10. People pick up a few copies and then they grow up. So they figure, yeah, we'll just recycle. I don't know. If I was around, 1970, I was 5. So I wasn't reading these, but I completely would have kept buying these for 10, 12 years. Like, why are they reusing the same cover? Yeah. I mean, it's clearly 1950s art, right? And then you see, let me just show you what I'm talking about. I just saw some. Come on, where did I just see that? Oh yeah, you can tell this was added in, the way the guy's getting stabbed in the face. That's a little bit far, compared to the 50s art here, and then that kind of violence, they wouldn't be, really in pre-code horror comics, they really wouldn't have gone that far. I don't know. That's cool. Look at this Joe Biden looking guy and the severed hand. The game called Dying. Man. Corpses, coast to coast. That reminds me of Art Bell. Oh, look at this. The Shrunken Monster. Look at this here. What is he, swapping heads on her? Oh, Marjorie Taylor Greene. Okay. Okay, April 68, June of 70. So, what else we got here? Here's October 1973. Weird. The Flesh Rippers. Man, this bat, it kind of looks like a cat, is really effing this guy up. This woman here, that looks familiar, that pose. It seems like I've seen that somewhere before. Yeah, you know what this really reminds me? Here's another copy of the same issue. This reminds me of when you go to the state fair or a carnival and you've got a dark ride, you get in a little car and it takes you through, This is the kind of stuff that sometimes you see painted on the outside of those rides. And it's wonderful. Reminder of that. Weird. October 73. That's 70. 77, so that goes here. Weird. Weird, dude. Here's Weird Vampire Tales, January 81. Boy, that's very recent. So this shit went all the way into the early 80s. Now, at this point, 81, they're trying to get a little bit of space Star Wars influence in there, because by then uh, Star Wars had permeated culture. Look at this, great. That's great. It's you know that this reminds me, you know, when Joe Biden was going after his aide, you know, and he grabbed her between the legs and said, come on, man. I heard you like me," and then she quit, and then that came out later, and the media all said, "Oh, that's just not true," you know, because Trump said, you know, when you're rich, you just grab them by the pussy, and people were outraged. But when Biden actually did grab them by the pussy, like in this picture here, um, it was like, well, that's all right, you know. She's probably lying, and even if it's true, you know, he's just such a nice, lovable old man. Oh my goodness. Speaking of Democrats, there's some people rushing to the polls to vote for Biden. Oh my gosh, look at these people. They're all so grotesque, man. The frickin' heck. These are wonderful magazines. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. So, Eerie Publications, ladies and gentlemen. So, Weird Vampire Tales, I guess that would go at the end. Weird Vampire Tales. Oh boy, I wish I had more of these. At one point, they tried to, in July of '68, just calling it Tales from the Crypt. That didn't fly too well with William M. Gaines over at EC, who still owed him the copyright of Tales from the Crypt. And this is the only issue, unless maybe they put out two, but I think this is the only issue where it was called Tales from the Crypt. They had to change that pretty quick. Because, you know, 68, you know, 4 years later, there was a Tales from the Crypt movie that came out from Amicus in the early 70s, when people started to become aware of those, you know, those old horror comics 20 years ago. Those were pretty cool. These make me very happy, ladies and gentlemen. Oh, great. Tales from the Crypt. That would go before Terror Tales. Terror Tales. Now, Tales of Voodoo. Tales of F is before O. Oh, okay. There's a Tales from the Tomb. I have a feeling that Tales from the Crypt was quickly changed into Tales from the Tomb. So I'll put Tales from the Crypt in front of Tales from the Tomb. That's a pretty good say. Well, you don't want us to call it Tales from the Crypt? We'll call it Tales from the Tomb. You happy now? Yeah, I'm not happy. Blah. And of course, there's Tales of Voodoo. Now, you know, if Dolly Parton was a vampire, it's gonna be hard to get that stake through to get to her heart, right? Well, anyway, this guy seems to. Like shit. It's not going through the nipple. At first you think he's going right through the nipple, but no, not exactly. And this other nice vampire woman's trying to, it's like, wait, stop, don't do that to her. Look at this fucking guy. He's like a Shriner. Or one of those Egyptians. And is that supposed to be the moon, or is that the sun? If that's the sun, then you don't even need the steak, do you? Speaking of steak, the Still Smoking Barbecue Steakhouse will be open tomorrow night, as I can continue my quest to look like this individual. One very wide open coffin. No, one very wide coffin. Oh, because he's fat. I get it. I get it. Chant of the Dead. You know what? I really hate the Grateful Dead. Don't you? Grateful Dead. Why do people like Grateful Dead? The other band that everyone loves that I hate is U2, man. I don't hate you. I hate the band U2. The letter U and the numeral 2. They they always thought they sucked. I hated the guy's voice, and they're just such libtards. They always were. So pretentious. I love Ireland, my mother Ireland. I'm half Irish, but no, not the band U2. Let's see. What other bands do I hate? I always hated Journey. No, I don't want to offend you if you're fans of these. I never liked Bruce Springsteen, except a few of his songs when they were done by other people, like Blinded by the Light by Manfred Mann. That's a great song. Tales of Voodoo. Okay, there's Tales of Voodoo, September 70. This is May 69. May of 69, just think. Those were the days, my friend. We thought they'd never end. We thought they'd last forever and a day. October 1967, weird. It's Sonny and Cher. This woman doesn't have any blood on her. She's not even fucked up yet. She's just laying there in the grass. Very Frazetta looking grass and everything. But those people, they look like fakers, man. That looks like a Halloween costume where you could be fitting your head there under the stumps shouldn't be sticking up that high. Suspense, terror, shock. Yes, October 1967. This one's got a spine roll, ladies and gentlemen, and spine ticks. But with a clean and a press, this should be a 9.8. I wonder how many idiots have submitted these magazines to CGC so you can never look inside them again. This magazine's so horrible. I can't wait to submit it to CGC because I never want to open it up and see these nightmarish images again. They will give me such nightmares. You know, there were kids that would read these comics and have nightmares, you know. Can you imagine being one of those kids? The kids that watch Mr. Rogers, that vote for Joe Biden, that believe... Never mind. I was going to make a comment about climate change, but you'll get upset. Oh, climate change is real. Yeah, man. Weird October 67. He's a climate change denier. Yeah, the climate, there was some, I agree, the climate got a little colder this morning, man. It was a little bit, not quite cold enough to put a coat on, but there was a little bit of a climate change. Oh my gosh. Tales of Voodoo. I just saw a little pop-up on the top of my phone. Where I used to live in Texas, the Nextdoor app where everyone gets on there and complains about things going on, or they say, I need someone to cut branches on my trees, whatever. And there's just something, I just saw 40 police cars surround us. Like, oh, I keep seeing horrible things happening back there in the mother country. But here's Tales of Voodoo. You got a bald Frankenstein, kind of like what we would later see in Young Frankenstein, right? In this issue, an inferno of shocking, weird, and bizarre tales of the supernatural. Man, there was an auction last night. Englantine had an auction, and I wanted to get one of the books, and I fell asleep, and I went back this morning. The auction had been scrubbed off the internet, and I left a little comment on one of his videos. Is that particular book still available? And it's hard to read that date. Let's see. Oh, okay. It's September of 1971. See here, it's printed against the trees. It's hard to see. So, anyway, I don't know. The ghoul. People are starting to feel the hurt from inflation a bit. Yeesh. Look at this. Yeah, pretty horrible. But Joe Biden says it's like, that's ridiculous. It's 8.2. It was only 8.1 last month. It's not like it just suddenly shot up to 8.2. It's pretty consistent. Yeah, well, you go try to buy stuff. I mean, you've got billions of dollars that you've gotten from Russia and Ukraine that has been filtered in through your son. So you're not worried when food goes up a little bit at the supermarket, or the price of gas goes up, but some of us are. Tales of Voodoo. That was 1971. This is 69, 70. I don't have enough of these magazines, I'm realizing. I'm showing these, and everyone's going to rush out and buy them all up off the internet, then I won't be able to get any, man. But that's the breaks. I don't have any money to buy anymore. Tales from the Tomb, February 72. About that. Again, the Wolfman's holding a Dracula head. Now the Mummy's gotten into, everybody wants to kill these vampire women. Can't they all just get along? Can't you just get along, guys? Why do you have to always be putting stakes through each other's heart, man? Why can't you just get along? Tales from the Tomb. 73. Tales from the Crypt. 72. Motherfucker. Tales of Voodoo. This is a surprisingly tame cover. Now, I just got a book that has every single cover. I got it from Gotham City Comics. I mailed off, I painted a cover on a Garbage Pail Kids comic for him and trade for it, and I sent that off yesterday. He should get it Friday. Today's new comic book day, so everyone should be showing their new comic book videos. I think they have a replica of Action Comics #1 that came out today. That would be definitely something cool to get. This is March of 74, Tales of Voodoo. If you have a comic book store, you probably should be getting that Action Comics #1. Tales of Voodoo, March 1974, 77. Yeah, so tonight on the Graphic Man program, there'll be 4-color fossils. That'll be at 7 o'clock this evening. So be there or be square. This is March of 71. It's surprisingly kind of tame. This guy's been maybe injured in a car accident, or maybe he got thrown from his motorcycle, and this guy's not there to hurt him. He's actually a Red Cross paramedic robot that's about to give him a shot of fentanyl or something. Black light monsters. Okay, so anyway, March of 71. The cover's not that bad. It's actually someone being helped instead of being killed. What were they smoking that month? Who wants to see someone not being killed on the cover? Someone being helped? What? Tales of Voodoo. Tales of Voodoo. Of course, Marvel had a comic at that time called Tales of the Zombie. Oh, here's Tales from the Tomb from April 1970. This guy is dragging this vampire woman caveman style into his crypt. anyway, Putin's planning to draft, I think, 300,000 troops, and then apparently all the planes leaving Russia were all booked up this morning. Everyone's trying to flee Russia, so I guess he's trying to draft 300. I was telling my wife that means he's going to draft 300,000 people, and she says, well, I'm such a fucking idiot. I thought 300,000 troops means 300,000 men. And she says, no, a troop is not a person. A trooper is a person. And I said, what? I quickly looked it up on the internet, and it's like, oh shit, a troop. Yeah, that is right. Like a Boy Scout troop, it's a group of people. So that means he's going to be drafting more than 300,000 people. Somehow all my life I've thought, and you say, because I figured like Patton gets up, all right, troops. I think he thought he's okay. A soldier is you're a troop. Man, I'm pretty fucking stupid, aren't I? April 1970. I thought, damn, 50 cents in 1970? That's an expensive book. I mean, when you're selling stuff that's really kind of contraband, that's like really, they charge more, like dirty magazines. They always been really high priced. If you had in this same time period, 1970, let's say you had a hardcore dirty magazine that's really illegal to sell in most places. It might be $15, as opposed to a regular magazine on the newsstand is 30 cents, but 50 cents is pretty high. And that's because these magazines are so extreme. It's in a way they are kind of like pornography. They're so extreme that they just kind of feel wrong, like just don't feel. I think as a kid you feel like I'm doing something bad reading this. It's like I'm smoking a cigarette, or it's just like this is something you do with a flashlight. Read Tales from the Tomb, April 1970. Tales from the Tomb. April 19th, Tales from the Crypt. Oh, yeah, man. Okay. And there's more. Tales from the Tomb, March 1973. A chillerama of blood-draining horror. They've got a story called Bloodsucker, The Open Grave. It's a super shocker, ladies and gentlemen. March 1973, Tales from the Tomb. Tales from the Tomb. Tales of Voodoo, Tales from the Tomb, 78, 72, okay, goes here. Oh, this is a good cover. Tales of Voodoo, September 1974. Yeah, see, they're never innocent little victims. Maybe it's so people say, well, they're killing, torturing women. No, they're bad people. They're vampires. See, she has fangs, so they're all monsters. It's okay if they kill each other because they're all bad. They're all demonic. So it's all okay, ladies and gentlemen. I don't know. The thing they don't really do in here, there's a lot of gore, but in the Warren magazines they would have nudity, not extreme nudity, not until like in the early 80s with 1984. Well, Vampirella was always more cheesecake magazine than Creepy and Eerie. Creepy and Eerie, you'd see little shots of boobs or butts, but kind of like you're not. They were kind of PG-13, maybe almost R-rated, those magazines. But in these books, there's not really bad language or nudity. It's just all gore. So they Tales of Voodoo. September 74. Okay, 71. Yeah, I've never gotten these in order. This is the first time I've tried to do it. March, April, May, June, September. All right, let's take a brief voyage to the bottom of the sea, ladies and gentlemen. We have a few more magazines to go through this afternoon. Yeah, this is what I've been watching. Owen Schroyer. Okay. So, I'm going to take a brief pit stop, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, this is the comic book room where I'll be broadcasting tonight for and the Four Color Fossils show. So I hope you'll be there tonight at 7 o'clock p.m. Central. Let me set this camera down for a little bit, and I'll be back.
Suggesting you relax, refresh, and enjoy Dr. Pepper or Diet Dr. Pepper. Distinctively different for today's light and lively taste.
The lift is great, the flavor fine. It's Dr. Pepper time.
All right, I'm back. See, this is the book that came out not long ago. Eerie Publications, the complete covers, the whole bloody mess. And this is my, this is the comic book room. I've got all these boxes and books. I just got this Howard the Duck one recently, and anyway, I was trying to find a box of. I put all the Bronze Age Fantastic Four comics in a separate box. Now I can't find that box. This shit keeps happening to me. Oh, I bet they're in that box there. Hold on. I found them. All right. All is well. Remember I showed you that script 2 episodes ago? See this poster of 2000 Maniacs. I don't know if you can see that. It says there, to Kenneth, a really good screenwriter, Herschel Gordon Lewis. So, just in case you think that I didn't really actually write a script that Herschel Gordon Lewis is going to be in, there's proof. Yeah, I almost did something, but it never happened, ladies and gentlemen. Isn't that impressive? Aren't you impressed? Oh, I wanted to show you something. Let me do that real quick. Years ago, I thought maybe I can be a painter like Basil Gogos. That can't be too hard, could it? Of course. Anyway, well, let me show you. I'm not a really great artist, but I used to like to play around painting. And I just painted a cover, like I said, for Gotham City Comics. And like this is an example. So I did this painting, which is basically just a copy of Basil Wolverton's Lena the Hyena. But I did this here. I don't know if I'm getting a good shot of it or not. Not that one, this one. It's supposed to be like a pulp cover with a villain grabbing Betty Page, and I hope I'm getting that in the shot. And some shadow spider looking hero in the background. So that's an example of what I produced like a lot of years ago. But I found these paintings in the garage. Well, first of all, I'd be glad to take commissions if you want me to do a painting, and because I need some extra money, as the youngsters call it, a side hustle. Or if you wanted to trade me for comics, because I don't have money to buy comics. If you have comics that you have duplicates of, especially Silver Age or earlier, I would, let me show you what I got. As I found some paintings in the garage that I don't really want to own anymore, because they're, well, let me show you. Let me set this, hold on a second, ladies and gentlemen. Damn it. Sorry, just one moment, ladies and gentlemen. A toast to you, ladies and gentlemen. Let's see. Well, here's some paintings I'm not selling. I'll show you some ones I really liked first. But I could do ones like this probably better because this was done I would say 12 years ago. Here's one. This one I want to just put in a frame because I like it. See, it's pretty amateurish. It's kind of outsider art, but it's a painting I did. And then I have one of Carolyn Jones's Morticia. I mean, it's not see, I swear it used to look better than this, but I don't know. This one turned out pretty good, Vampira. I think I got the eyes pretty well. But again, I'm no classically trained artist. And here's one of Lon Chaney as the Wolfman. So those are paintings that okay, now here are paintings that I will get rid of that I found in the garage. I'm going to write numbers on them. This is going to be kind of like an auction. Years before I met my wife, there was this girl that lived in another part of the country that I thought was great. It didn't work out, but I painted these paintings of her, and I painted her as different characters and stuff. So I don't have any need for these now. Now I could paint over the canvas or the board here, or I could just alter it, and because I can't. What am I going to do with these paintings? So I'm going to label this painting 1. So if you're interested in this one is the Orion slave girl from Star Trek. But I drew this girl's face in there. Now I could repaint it to make her look like Susan Oliver, I think was the actress in the episode The Cave.